Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone in between and adjacent, welcome to the Rush Rundown, what I believe is the first and only 10-minute testing ripoff for Rush Duels. Today we're going to start taking a look at all the new decks that came out in the most recent update. However, we're not going to flex our brain power with psychics, nor are we going to beat down the competition with Dark Galaxy. No, today we are taking a look at a deck that aims to build something. Build a board. Build a field, if you will. That's right. Please allow me to introduce to you Buildream.
Yeah, scratch him. Scratch the paint off the front.
This is the part of the video where I tell you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. First off, the skill. Our skill is Dynamic Dream Builder. Can be activated from turn 2 onward on a turn that you normal summoned a normal monster. If all the monsters in your constructed deck are Earth attribute Wyrm type monsters, you can either add one fusion from your deck or graveyard to your hand, or send one card from your hand to the graveyard, then add one Constructor Wyrm Builddragon or Peaks of Blistopia from your deck or graveyard to your hand. Constructor Wyrm Builddragon is once per duel. Now what this skill enables is a brand new take on the strategy where we can basically not turbo, but we can put all our resources into a very, very powerful fusion monster, which is Infinite Constructor Wyrm Buildream. It takes Constructor Wyrm Builddragon and Constructor Princess Pylon, and you send one card from your fields into the graveyard to destroy 2 monsters in your opponent's field. Very strong card. I may also note this is a level 9 monster, which is huge for the current meta. And our other fusion monster, brand new, is Constructor Chief Wyrm Handtoolon. Materials: Constructor Warrior Shovelon and Picklon the Constructor Fairy. Send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This card gains 200 attack until the end of this turn. If there's no face-up field spell on your field, you can also add one Peaks of Blistopia or Silver Mountain of Blistopia from your graveyard to your hand. Now, these two play in a very nice way, where Buildream sends the field spell, and Handtoolon just adds it back. It's very nice as well. Handtoolon is actually pretty decent on his own in terms of attacking over things, and we're always pretty much going to be playing Picklon and Shovelon in our decks because they're two of the best cards in Wyrms, so he's just a great auto include. And frequently, if you can't get to Buildream, you'll normally end up with Handtoolon on your field. Now, the card by card. First up, we have 3 copies of Constructor Wyrm Builddragon, 3 Constructor Fire Mixer, 3 Picklon the Constructor Fairy, 3 of the brand new Constructor Desk Worker Tarask. Now, what Tarask here does is she sends one card from your hand to the graveyard to send top 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard. Then you can add a fusion or field spell from your graveyard to your hand. And this turn, you can only tackle the Wyrm type monster. Now, she has a bit of a restriction, but if you're playing this Buildream version of the deck, you do not need to worry about that restriction at all. You will only be playing Wyrm type monsters. As well, you may notice from her effect that she does not need to mill the fusion or field spell that you're trying to add. In fact, she can grab any of them from your graveyard. That is very important. As well, we are finally playing 3 Constructor Princess Pylon. You may be familiar that most Wyrm decks previous to this update have not actually played this card. We haven't actually gotten a crazy amount of new cards from the update. We've actually just, bolstered our already existing Wyrm strategy. We have 3 Constructor Wyrm Shovelon. We are 1 Pot of Avarice. You are milling a whole lot in this deck, so Pot of Avarice is very important for getting your effect monsters back into the deck. You do want your normals, like the Princess Pylon and the Shovelon, in the graveyard for Reborn plays with Builddragon, but in order to recycle your Builddragons, you'd either go through the skill or you can use the Pot of Avarice to get more cards in hand. We are on 3 Primal Howling. This is noticeably not MST. Primal Howling, if you're not familiar, actually takes the opponent's spell trap card and puts it to the bottom of their deck. We're on 3 Peaks of Blistopia. This just boosts Wyrms, if you're not familiar. Our court-ordered Talismanic Seal Array. Our 1 fusion, it is very searchable by both our skill and Tarask, so we do not need to worry about playing more than 3. We have no limit 2s, so we are on Negate Attack, 1 Buffered Slime, and the Piece de Resistance, my 1 card restoration. And now that we actually finished one of our briefest card by cards, let's check out some games. Alright, here we are with our game number 1, and we are actually in the mirror. As you can see, everyone's pretty much excited to play with all these brand new cards. It's been a while since we got a good update. We're just going to go ahead and set 4 cards, pretty nice. We set our 2 princesses in the Tarask. You really don't want to open the 2 princesses honestly, just, yeah, she's a good draw for the fusion blades, but it kind of cuts you off a lot if you're stuck with two of them. Anyway, so the opponent's going to go ahead and lead Picklon, pitch a card, draw a card, then they're going to activate the skill. They go and hit add fusion. This guy has to be very worried that we're going to see the fusion right off the bat, but then they summon Shovelon. So we're going to be seeing Hand Toolon from the opponent. Pretty happy to see that they aren't in a position to actually make a field spell play, but we are still pretty rough off. The last card in hand tributing it, and we have the Buildream. Oh my god, we are sweaty. The opponent had such a great play. They just had no field spell access, but thankfully they leave one monster on our field, and that is the Princess Pylon. So if we can find our own Buildream, which we do, we can make our fusion play as well. As you may notice, we also just ripped the Peaks of Blistopia. So we're going to activate the Peaks, summon and Shovelon. We're going to summon Mixer, see what our top card is. With whatever, go ahead and summon out the Buildream effect. Bring back the Shovelon. Dynamic Dream Builder, get us our fusion. We're going to go ahead and fusion summon the Constructor Wyrm Buildream. Bring him out, use his effect, wipe the opponent's monsters right off the board, set our last cards, and we go right into battle. Dealing 4,500 directly to the opponent's face. We are very well positioned here, except for the fact that our back row is pretty much nothing. We have nothing to really protect ourselves from the opponent doing a similar play on the cracked back. You see they open Peaks here, so we are pretty worried. Seeing another fighter Mixer out of them is actually a little calming, because we don't have to worry about the effect really in that case. You notice the opponent is also on Drillzard. I'm not personally playing Drillzard in this deck just because I didn't really need the extra normals. As well, in testing, I was also playing a Wormdrake Crush as the opponent is, but I ended up cutting it because I just didn't need the extra tributes. The attack was nice, but there is a much different version of the deck I prefer to play the Wormdrake Crush in. So they're just going to swing over our Shovelon. We are ultimately big chilling, like we are in no trouble at all. So we just go ahead, pitch away their Peaks of Blistopia, and then we're going to send our own to pop their monsters. We're just playing around if the back row is actually anything. So we just go ahead and swing in, and we are lucky the back row was nothing. We were in a very, very bad position there, but I kind of just had the vibe that with the way their graveyard was looking, that the opponent probably didn't see a relevant back row for us. Alright, here we are with game number 2, and our opponent's on Max Overload, a deck I haven't seen in a pretty long while. It's actually one of my favorite older decks from the previous formats. You can see the opponent didn't really open very well, it looks. They just go ahead and special a monster with Max Overload and then pass. With ones that we're not really too worried about what they could possibly have, because you actually open a pretty decent hand for going first. With opening the gate attack 2 monsters. We're going to go ahead and use our skill, add Peaks of Blistopia to our hand. Go ahead and activate that. We're going to summon our monster. You can see I'm on an older version of the deck here, that we have a Draft Tannin in the deck. Beforehand, I was playing Draft Tannin in the Mixer slot. I went ahead and switched them out, I think after this game, because he just didn't feel very good at all. His attack level is so low that it wasn't really doing much for us. He ended up just being kind of bricky. I just thought at the very least he could like cycle a card that we don't really need at the point, but it didn't end up working out. The slots are virtually the same with or without the two of them, so it's better to use the Mixer that I included in the card by card. Anyway, so the opponent comes back and he just set 2 more cards. I can only imagine it's like really big guys that got stuck in their hands and they just don't have a good reason to Max Overload for them. Maybe they only have that one piece they're kind of like shuffling. Maybe it could be 2 pieces and they're hoping to find a third. Anyway, we're just going to pop off. We're going to go ahead and Primal Howling away one of the back row. We're going to go Buildream, summon back the Princess, and we're just going to fuse away here. This is pretty much game on board at this point. So unless the opponent's last back row is legitimately nothing, we do just have the game. So we're going to go ahead and swing in. We hit them for 3,400, and I said, oh, cool, game's over. Go ahead and tackle Shovelon, and it was a slow negate attack. I don't really know why they let me get their life points so low by letting them hit them for 3,400. If my primal had sniped the negate attack instead of the other card, they were pretty much dead there. Now, let's find out why they let that attack through. The opponent was in fact slow rolling the Magnum Overlord. And he goes ahead and drops it, uses the effect, and he goes to 7,800, and I'm shaking. I'm like, oh my god, this is game 9,600. How will I stop this? Anyway, the negate attack has been sitting on my board since my first turn. Goes ahead and clears this very nicely for us. However, you must think, wait, what can we do? How do we out this monster? 3,500. We can't swing over. Our monster's only 3,400. Whatever will we do? Oh, we open Tribute to the Doom. Okay. Also, the Buildream effect also just completely outed the monster name. We were never losing that match. The opponent slow rolled the Magnum, and we just said, brother, you gotta have a little more than that. This deck has a lot of removal in it. And removal is an absolute premium in Rush. Alright, here we are, game number 3. And you know what that means. A 1v1 versus Cyber Dragon. We're going first, and you might notice that we have a awful hand. Made even worse by that draw. We're going to have normal summon the Constructor Fighter Mixer, put him in an attack with Peaks of Dystopia Southfield, just so he has 1,600, seeing if we can possibly hit anything off the effect, and we hit nothing, milling it to Rask, and we say, oh my god, we are giga dead. However, the opponent goes ahead and they just set 5 cards. I have to say, I am very shocked Cyber Dragon did not find a monster that can out a 1,600 attack point monster. Well, we had the Primal Howling, so we're going to head and shuffle away a back row. Going to head normal summon another Mixer. Mixer effect hits Constructor Pylon Princess. Go ahead and tribute summon the Builddragon. Builddragon effect, bring her back. We have the Polymerization. Go ahead and use the fusion. Using them away for the Buildream. And it's just a quick little pop the opponent's monsters, and we have game. And they go ahead and just scoop it there, seeing that game was coming. Now you might say, wait, how do you know that was Cyber Dragon? Well, I deck checked after this to say, what could this opponent possibly be freaking on? And I saw, well, brother is playing the same exact Cyber Dragon deck I play. I don't know if that's a statement on the deck I made or what, but hey, a win versus Cyber Dragon is a win. Alright, I realize we can't exactly end on that last game, so here's a little bonus game. This is also a kind of one-sided stomp in our favor, but this shows off exactly what the deck does. Our opponent is on Light Machine, and you can see that we have a pretty bad opening once again. However, we go ahead and we tribute summon our Builddragon right away, activating Peaks of Blistopia, which is making him 2,900. Say, opponent, out this 2,900 guy. Now they go ahead and they just set a whole bunch of cards. Their plays don't really matter, so I'm just going to fast forward right through that. I just want to show you what I do here. We summon the Chevlon. We go ahead and Buildream, add Fusion. Notice we have Picklon in hand, normal summon Picklon effect. Pitch the useless guy in hand, draw another Chevlon, Fusion effect. Summon hand to Lon. Go ahead and use our Warrior. Go ahead and then just go to battle. Swing over everything they've got field. This is how we realized it was, in fact, Light Machine. At first I was thinking, is this person also on Cyber Dragon? They are kind of bricked up. Then I realized they had no extra deck. And it wasn't until I checked the deck after this duel that I realized they were just playing Light Machine, but on Nail. So it was Light Machine without the Aim Eagle skill, which is alright, I guess. Okay, we drew Tribute to the Doom, so we're just going to pop one of their monsters. And if you remember from the previous duels, 2 monsters on their side of the field means nothing to us. So we're going to go ahead and summon another Builddragon, summon the Pylon Return, skill, add the Fusion. Go ahead and use for the Buildream. There we go. Buildream effect, pitching the Peaks, popping 2, revealing more Light Machine monsters. Then we hand to Lon, add the Peaks back, normal summon Picklon, and we go ahead and break the battle and wipe out the opponent's life points. Now, Now, of course, yes, like I said, this is another one-sided stomp, but I want to show the plays when you get both Buildream and Hand Toolon on field. The synergies and what the deck really does besides just showing you the same kind of beatdown over and over again. And we're back with the deck. It looks pretty good there, but there are some pros and cons to go over. First, the pros. Our attack stats go really high. Most of our monsters end up being pretty decent beaters, specifically Chevelon, Buildragon, and of course our fusion guys themselves. As well, the skill giving us so much access to Peaks of Blistopia puts the deck at a level that we haven't really seen before. This is the first field spell focused deck in Rush, and now it finally has a true identity, where before the field spell skill was really bad, so we were playing the max monster. Here we've cut the max monster, are using a field spell skill that actually does something. As well, Terras being able to add fusion and peak for basically low cost is an insane add to the deck. We also have access to so many recursive tools for our monsters, whether it's summoning them out of the graveyard or just simply looping unimportant cards to get better ones. Now the cons, if you don't really find the cards you want, you do kind of end up milling yourself a lot with Tarask. I didn't show any of it because I don't really show games where I get dominated, but we did lose a lot to decking during testing. It's probably like day one issues because this was within the first couple days. All my footage from and all my like testing was those first couple days, so that's probably a symptom of that and not really having people to really discuss the theory with at that time. Also, any monster but Buildream is very susceptible to Cyber Dragon's plays, whether it's being destroyed by Assault or being swung over by Cyber Twin. It's rough out there for us. But with all that said, this is a very fun deck that I highly recommend checking out if you have the rest of the Wyrm cards. I can understand if you don't want to invest in something like that, but listen, big number goes pretty hard. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching. Leave a like on the video, leave a comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, and all that good stuff. As well, please remember, if there is a deck you would like to see me do a video on, leave that in the comments below. I read every comment, and I frequently do every deck recommended down there. Thank you again. Goodbye.